What if we told you that a hairstyle, not a song, not a movie, not a patented invention, ended up at the center of a federal lawsuit? This isn't about stolen music or copied merch. It's about natural hair, creative expression, and a viral style that took over social media, something known as the StarPuff.
She's a Solar Being launched a campaign and promotional materials that included a product called the StarPuff, the same moniker they had long used to identify their star-shaped three-dimensional sculpture.
We'll touch on this later because they're even trying to claim the name of the hairstyles as well.
She's filing for the Star Afro shape design, which would be an attempt to claim ownership over the visual appearance of a star-shaped Afro puff. I'm not sure why there are so many videos criticizing me about copywriting my StarPuff design, when a design patent is literally the same thing.
So yeah, what started as a celebration of textured hair and creativity slowly turned into one of the most divisive creator disputes the internet has seen in a long time. Accusations of copying, copyright strikes, takedowns, public callouts, and eventually legal action. On one side is Quinn Ava, a creator who says she not only popularized these sculpted puff styles, but also coined the names, built an entire brand around them, and watched as others profited from her work without credit. To her, this isn't just about hair. It's about ownership, recognition, and protecting her livelihood.
So when you see these distinct sculptural forms like this or this, you automatically recognize it as me and my brand without even seeing my face. That's what Trade dressed up.
On the other side is Solar Being, a brand and creator who argues that hairstyles can't be owned, that creativity evolves collectively, and that no single person gets to claim exclusive rights over a cultured style. From their perspective, this case isn't protection, it's restriction.
We believe that what's happening to us right now can potentially happen to other creatives who decide to enter the natural hair sculpting niche.
And over the past few weeks, the situation has continued to intensify with videos from both sides piling in, trying to explain their side of the story to the internet. What began as a disagreement over credit and originality slowly escalated into copyright claims, public statements, and legal action. With each development, the conflict became harder to contain, turning what could have stayed behind the scenes into a highly visible dispute, one that now raises serious questions about intellectual property, creative ownership, and how far creators can go to protect their work. Because at the center of all this is a much bigger question. Can you really own a hairstyle? Or are we watching the internet test the limits of creativity and control? This is the story of how the StarPuff went from a viral hair trend to a legal battlefield. So let's start this breakdown from the beginning. How these creators and their hairstyles ended up becoming the topic of a federal lawsuit. Because yes, as unbelievable as it may sound, this is happening over a hairstyle that no one can really own. Now we'll be starting by introducing the two main characters of this whole drama, beginning with Quinn Ava. If you're into the whole natural hair sculpting space and embracing natural afros, there's a good chance you've seen her pop up on your feed before. She's actually quite big on TikTok and, more importantly, very talented. One look at her page and it's immediately clear how creative and imaginative she is. She currently has around 85.9 thousand followers on TikTok, and according to various online sources, she started showcasing her talent on social media when she was only 19. Before stepping into the hair sculpting world, she actually studied to become a hairstylist, and reportedly, she was a straight-A student. If all of this is true, it does show that she's genuinely passionate about her work, and about hair sculpting in particular. She started at a very young age, which helps explain why she's so defensive and protective of her art in the first place. Ava uses her own natural hair to create what she calls hair sculptures, and honestly, that term makes sense. These aren't just regular hairstyles. They're detailed, artistic, and sometimes completely unexpected. We mean she literally sculpted an entire alligator out of her hair, and a Rubik's Cube, and a bunch of other very amazing things. Now, as we said, she's pretty big on social media, and she's been creating these hair sculptures for a long time. Over time, this seems to have led her to believe that she's the originator of natural hair sculpting itself, and that's honestly not true. If you take even a brief look at the history of natural hair sculpting, it becomes clear that sculpting hair into different shapes and forms has existed long before social media. and long before Quinn Ava. It may not have always had a specific name attached to it, but hair sculpting has long been a form of expression, culture, and identity within the Black community. People have been doing this for generations. However, for whatever reason, Quinn Ava appears to believe that she holds some level of legal ownership over this niche, or at least over certain Afro styles. One of those styles is the StarPuff, which ultimately sits at the center of this entire dispute.
I know that I'm not the first person to shape their hair ever. Original is in my bio because my art is original. My art style is original.
Anyways, with that being said, we now move on to the other main character in this feud, a creator on social media known as She's a Solar Being. She's also quite popular on both TikTok and Instagram, and even though she entered the hair sculpting niche much later than Quinn Ava, she managed to build a following very quickly. In some of her videos, she's talked about how she originally started out as a brand back in 2021. At the time, she was mainly selling handmade products like face pendants and body butters. This was also around the period when she met her partner Ether while promoting her products at different events and markets. However, in 2023, she shifted her focus more toward content creation, and that's when things really took off. She went viral after recreating a hair sculpture inspired by styles from the 1970s, which brought a lot more attention to her work and eventually pushed her further into the hair sculpting space.
I started my brand Solar Being in 2021. I made and still make face pendants and whipped body butters all by hand. And I spent years vending at different markets around Southern California. I met Ether and then we did that for a couple of years until one morning I literally woke up and noticed that all of my business supplies were gone and all of the things that I made for my business were stolen. I just pivoted and I changed the way I looked at my business. I started learning about social media. I became more consistent and I started getting familiar with creating content, and I focused on stuff that I wish I saw when I was younger, and that has remained my focus till this day. Around late 2023, I went viral for recreating a natural hair sculpt that I saw from a photo that was taken back in 1971.
When this video of hers blew up, she basically revealed her potential in the hair sculpting niche, and she went with that. Currently, her content often features her alongside her partner, and together they create natural Afro styles that are a lot more whimsical, playful, and wearable on a day-to-day basis. And because of that, there really wasn't much of a comparison between her and Quinn Ava's styles, at least not in our opinion. While Quinn Ava's work leans heavily into large, artistic, almost sculptural statements, Solar Being's styles are simpler, cuter, and clearly designed for everyday wear. Here is a small side-by-side comparison of some of Solar Being's more extravagant hairstyles next to some of Quinn Ava's. Even at a glance, it's pretty clear that while they exist in the same general niche of natural hair sculpting, they operate in completely different lanes. Now, with that being said, for some reason, Quinn Ava appears to feel threatened by Solar Being, and at times, it really shows.
There's a clear pattern of her attaching myself to me and my work, and every time she does it, it blows up. And honestly, at a certain point, it starts to feel like she's trying to step into my destiny instead of creating her own.
We feel that jealousy and insecurity might be the reason why this whole thing started in the first place, leading to what Solar claims is harassment and bullying, and eventually boiling down to a lawsuit and a cease and desist. Whether this was driven by insecurity, competition, or something else entirely is still up for debate, but what's clear is that this is where the situation stopped being a creative disagreement and started becoming a legal one. Now, this whole situation really blew up when Solar started speaking about it publicly on her YouTube channel and TikTok. If you visit her pages right now, you'll see multiple posts and videos where she addresses the situation and gives her side of the story. That said, it's worth noting that she never mentions Quinn Ava by name in any of these videos. Instead, she speaks in general terms about what she claims happened, while leaving viewers to connect the dots themselves.
And I think this whole social media world has gotten to people's heads where they think that they are the queen of something and they want to be the sole person known for what they do. And that is completely against what I'm about.
On the other hand, Quinn Ava has also uploaded a video on her YouTube titled The Truth, and in it she basically explains what she has a problem with and why she has hit Solar with a lawsuit in the first place. Now, even though all of this became public in late 2025, when Solar started speaking about it openly and opinions began pouring in, this situation didn't just suddenly start. According to Solar, the issues between them had been going on for a long time behind the scenes.
So for the past 2 years, a lot of people have been learning about natural hair sculpting through the conflict that I've faced ever since I started the practice back in 2023.
She claims that Quinn Ava had been harassing and bullying her well before any of this became public, and that she simply didn't want to share space with another creator in the natural hair sculpting niche. In Solar's words, it felt like there was no room for anyone else to succeed, and that she was being pushed out entirely.
Please. This is actually so wrong, and I am glad that you spoke out, because people are actively watching what's happening right now, and they have to see it, because this is what I've been dealing with in private for years. People don't need to have direct proof of you supposedly bullying them out of the niche, because between you and I, we know that's not true. Your followers came to me and said, hey, this person's posting things about you. I met a person that told me, I am so glad you're speaking up, because I changed the niche I was doing because of this person.
And honestly, there does seem to be some indication that this tension had been building quietly for a while. While going through Solar's older TikTok videos, we came across a post from back in 2024 where she talks about attempting to collaborate with Quinn Ava when she was still new to the online space. At the time, the video didn't seem like anything serious, but in hindsight, it adds context to just how long this situation may have been simmering beneath the surface.
Being in the same niche does not mean that we are in competition with each other. I wanted to make this serious video because it seems like this is becoming more of an issue, and I just wanted to stop because it's unhealthy, childish, and just not worth anyone's time. But there's another natural hair sculptor that seems threatened by my presence within the natural hair niche. I think it's just because I'm here. Like, I didn't do anything but create videos and actually reach out to them asking if we could collaborate, because I was excited that because the niche is so small that working together is more powerful than being individuals. Like, we could actually collab on a video and break the internet. That's the mindset that I contacted them with. It just seems like they were down at the time, but now I think that was just a facade, because the way that they're acting towards me isn't kind. Let me also make it clear that, like, I started hair sculpting based off of inspiration that I took from this 1971 photo that I found on Pinterest. I recreated it and I gave the photo credit. I always do that. I always give everyone that I draw inspo from credit. However, one time I did create a video where I made my hair into butterfly wings, and this same creator commented asking if I've seen them do it before. And I genuinely didn't see them do that butterfly video, but I have seen their work before, and it's awesome. Like, I was excited to collaborate with them and everything. I was like, let's work together, you know? The way that things are now, it seems like, no, they don't want to work with me, and that's fine.
So basically, if what Solar is saying is true, Quinn Ava initially responded positively to the collaboration request, but then at some point she decided against it, reportedly because she felt that Solar was trying to copy her hairstyles without giving her proper credit. In the same video, Solar also accused Quinn Ava of trying to gatekeep the niche, essentially pushing her out and discouraging her from continuing in the space. Another point Solar mentioned was how Quinn Ava responded to a comment on TikTok from a user who is simply trying to explain that the hairstyles in question are actually quite common and that many people create them independently.
And so someone commented saying like how they were trying to explain to this other natural hair sculptor the same thing, that natural hair sculpting has been a thing for forever. And so I was like, oh, like, who are you talking about? And they DM'd me and told me who they were talking about. It's the same person. They said how they made this like passive aggressive video talking about like, oh, if you draw inspo from me, give me credit because I've been doing this. And I didn't watch the video, so I don't know what exactly they said in it, but the shoe did not fit, so I didn't wear it. I was like, I always give people inspo if I draw from their work, you know, so I don't think they're talking about me. But I realized like maybe they do have a problem with me, because today people were tagging me in their videos saying like, have you seen this? Have you seen this, Solar? And I was like, I didn't even get a chance to answer, but they took it upon themselves to answer for me. And this is what they said.
In other words, the commenter was trying to make Ava understand that if someone does a hairdo she's done before, it doesn't automatically mean they're copying her. Quinn Ava, however, responded to this comment by saying, and we quote, "She has. She told me her whole page is inspired by me and the afro shapes I used to do before my first page got taken down." Now that would be great if it were true, but according to Solar, the reality was completely the opposite. She says she never told Quinn Ava that she was in the natural hair sculpting niche because of her, or that her entire page was inspired by Ava.
So I think it's kind of interesting that they would respond like that, because not only is it not true, but it just shows that it's like an ego problem. I don't mean to say this in a way to offend this person if they do see it, but like it seems like there is a huge ego involved, because not only is that just not true, but it seems like you're trying to twist it to make it seem like I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if it weren't for you, which is just not true. Okay, and it seems like you don't want to share the space.
In simpler terms, it seems like Quinn Ava might have thought a little too highly of herself. Basically, Ava was desperate enough to try to claim ownership over the niche, holding tightly to the title of being the original creator on TikTok. In her mind, anyone who tried to create something even remotely similar was either a copycat, stealing credit, or infringing on her intellectual property. Her words, not ours.
Having my intellectual property infringed upon, especially when it's my work and my natural hair, it's very personal.
Anyways, that initial video of Solar was really one of the first times we started hearing about the whole situation. At that point, most people weren't paying attention to what Solar was saying, but then she released a video titled, "We're Getting Sued Over a Hairstyle." And in that video, she gave a much fuller perspective on what had been happening behind the scenes. However, before we dive into exactly why this whole thing started, you need a little context. As we said before, Solar hasn't just been making videos. She's also been involved in entrepreneurial ventures. She owns a company called Solar Being Jewelry LLC and launched a product on her website called the StarPuffs. Yes, the StarPuffs, which according to Quinn Ava was the name she originated and claimed belonged to her hair sculpture. And this is really where the conflict over ownership begins. And if you think this is limited to just the star-shaped afros, you'd be wrong. Quinn Ava also claims legal ownership over several other names: Heart Puff, Flower Puff, and Butterfly Puff. There's actually a post up on her TikTok right now where she shows images of the original afro shapes she created back in 2023, presenting them as proof that she did it first. But of course, Solar was being very inconsiderate when she launched her campaign, because she started selling these star puffs that she sculpted herself. Who does that? And get this, the absolute worst part? She was selling them to non-black people. Truly a heinous offense.
Keep saying I'm gatekeeping black hair. What I am gatekeeping is our cultural art, our cultural expression, our magic from people who treat it like a joke.
Anyway, back on track. To sell these detachable star afros, Solar launched a campaign across her social media and her Kickstarter campaign, making it easy for anyone and everyone to get their hands on a little piece of star puff magic. Now, if you don't already know what a Kickstarter campaign is, here's a quick explanation. Kickstarter is a crowdfunding platform where creators, artists, and entrepreneurs pitch an idea or product directly to the public in order to raise money to bring it to life. Instead of going to investors or banks, creators set a funding goal and a time limit, and people can choose to financially support the project. Supporters don't just donate money, they usually receive rewards in return. These can be early access to the product, exclusive versions, limited edition items, or other perks, depending on how much they pledge. If the campaign reaches its funding goal within the set time, the creator gets the money and moves forward with production. If it doesn't reach the goal, no one is charged. So basically, you lose all the progress. In Solar's case, the Kickstarter campaign was used as a way to fund and distribute the detachable StarPuff products. Now, to be precise, Solar started her Kickstarter campaign in April of 2025, which ran for a total of 30 days till May of 2025. In the YouTube videos Solar uploaded, she explains the entire Kickstarter campaign and alleges that certain people, including Quinn Ava, attempted to take it down by filing DMCA takedown claims. Solar also explains why she launched these products in the first place. She says that through her business, she's been healing her inner child, and that her target audience has always been children. According to her, maintaining afro shapes and hair sculptures is different, even when parents know how to style hair that way. So she wanted to create something that would allow young black girls to embrace their natural hair early on, wearing it in playful, fun shapes without the extra effort. And according to Solar, that intention is what drove the launch of these products in the first place.
I also wanted to make the practice more accessible for the children specifically. It's really important to me that that the children see the beauty in their natural hair textures early. And I know that even if their parents were able to sculpt their hair, it may not last all day, or it's not something that they could just practice all the time. It doesn't last. It's a high maintenance practice. And so that's why I came up with the Solar Being sculpted hair extensions.
Now, one thing about crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter is that they make almost everything about a campaign public, from how much money you're raising to how well the campaign is performing. On top of that, Kickstarter also allows essentially anyone to file a DMCA complaint. And just for context, a DMCA, or Digital Millennium Copyright Act notice, is a legal request used to claim that someone is using copyrighted material without permission. When a DMCA is filed, platforms are usually required to temporarily take down the content while the claim is reviewed. And even if the claim about a DMCA needs some clarification, on platforms like Kickstarter, when a DMCA notice is filed, they're legally required to temporarily freeze a campaign. However, once the creator files an appeal and the claim is reviewed, the campaign can be reinstated. And that's exactly what happened to Solar. On the very last day of her Kickstarter campaign, Solar received an email from Kickstarter informing her that her funds had been frozen because a DMCA takedown request had been filed. According to the notice, the claim alleged that Solar was using Afro styles that were considered unique to someone else's brand identity, referring to, obviously, Quinn Ava.
So on the same day that our Kickstarter completed, on May 12th of this year, 2025, I received an email. It was from Kickstarter, and it was telling me that a DMCA takedown request was filed. And as they usually do, they send you the claims that were submitted, and this is what was said in the letter.
My client is the original creator and brand owner of a distinctive visual identity centered on Afro hair designs styled into unique shapes such as hearts, stars, and flowers.
However, Solar's funds were eventually released after she appealed the decision and explained to Kickstarter that the person making the claim didn't even have actual products being sold in those specific shapes. That said, this wasn't the end of it. According to Solar, just a few days later, on May 15th, 2025, she received a cease and desist. For anyone unfamiliar with what that means, a cease and desist is a formal legal notice sent to an individual or business demanding that they immediately stop a specific action. This can include selling a product, using certain names, posting specific content, or continuing behavior that's been claimed as illegal or infringing. So when Solar received this cease and desist, it essentially demanded that she and her company take down all videos and posts that reference the Afro shapes Quinn Ava allegedly created, including but not limited to the star, heart, flower, and butterfly puffs.
So in this letter, they were basically asking me to not only take down our products from all of our social media platforms, but they were also asking me to take down my regular hair sculpting videos. So that's really important for people to understand that in the beginning, this was not just about my products.
On top of that, the cease and desist also demanded that Solar return all the pledges she received in connection with the Kickstarter campaign. So at its core, the issue wasn't really about credit. The problem was that Solar was earning money from an idea or concept that Quinn Ava believes she came up with first. Ava didn't seem to have an issue with being acknowledged. The issue was that Solar launched something she felt she should have launched herself. And according to us, that doesn't automatically mean intellectual property infringement. What it really means is that Solar was quicker and more business savvy. She turned her content into a product, while Ava, despite identifying herself as the originator of these styles, never did. And this is actually something Quinn Ava has openly acknowledged in her own response videos. She stated that Solar was stepping into her destiny, which pretty clearly frames this as a competition issue rather than a clear-cut case of stolen intellectual property.
There's a clear pattern of her attaching myself to me and my work, and every time she does it, it blows up. And honestly, at a certain point, it starts to feel like she's trying to step into my destiny instead of creating her own.
So yeah, there is that. Anyway, this drama still has a long way to go, because not only did Quinn Ava hit Solar with a cease and desist, but she also issued 2 copyright strikes against her YouTube channel. And if you know about YouTube's policies, creators only get 3 strikes before their account can be taken down entirely. This meant that if Quinn Ava had continued targeting Solar, she could have potentially lost her entire YouTube channel, which for Solar was a major source of marketing, audience reach, and revenue for her brand. And if that wasn't enough, Quinn Ava also went ahead and filed a lawsuit in federal district court against Solar, claiming infringement on her intellectual property and trademark, namely her hairstyles. Just to be clear, all of the screenshots we're showing in this video are emails and notifications that were sent to Solar Being, which she displayed in her video talking about it. However, according to Ava, these weren't just hairstyles, they were hair sculptures. And under US copyright law, she claims that her sculptures are creatively protected protected. She even made a video explaining why she considers them her intellectual property. And to be honest, some of the arguments used to justify this could be considered laughable, at least to some extent.
It protects that unique visual identity. For the record, my work has been viewed over 500 million times across all platforms, so thank you for the support over the years.
In addition to everything else, Quinn Ava also claimed that Solar was infringing on her trademark, a trademark application she filed in August 2025. The trademark included drawings and illustrations of the afro shapes that she was trying to claim as her own. And if you check the status of the application, you'll see that it clearly states the trademark has been accepted by the office, but has not yet been assigned to an examiner. This means it's still just an application. It's not officially been approved, which also means that at this point, Quinn Ava holds no actual ownership over the hairstyles. And if that's not absurd enough, Quinn Ava also filed to trademark the names in October 2025, including Flower Puff and StarPuff. If these trademarks are accepted, it would mean that she holds legal ownership over the names, and nobody else could use them for their products or hairstyles. According to Solar, the timing of all this seemed pretty rushed. The lawsuit and trademark filings came after her Kickstarter campaign had already ended in May 2025, while the trademark applications were filed months later in August and October. By that point, Solar had already launched her campaign and was working on scaling her business. Now, from everything we've uncovered so far, it's pretty clear that Quinn Ava felt threatened by the brand Solar was building. She seemed determined to do everything she could to bring the campaign down, and by extension, the brand. However, in Quinn Ava's own videos, she portrayed herself as the victim in all this. According to her, she was being defamed by Solar and was simply trying to protect her intellectual property.
13 days, 70 posts. 70 posts in 13 days have been made in an attempt to defame my character, all because I'm trying to protect my intellectual property. And that's not even counting the followers who are coming to my page and continuing the bullying. The level of targeted harassment and retaliation has not been very easy to navigate, but I'm putting my mental health first and keeping my head up. Thank you so much to everybody who continues to support me and who understands the importance of originality, creativity, and protecting your work. Your support means everything during times like this.
So after Solar uploaded her videos explaining the situation, Quinn Ava posted a response telling her side of the story. In it, she basically said that she does not want to stop people from styling their hair however they want. She also claimed that she does not actually own the shapes themselves or the hair sculpting niche. But then she kind of contradicted herself. While saying people should style their hair however they want, she also argued that they shouldn't do it so much that it could cause brand confusion.
Trademark, copyright, does not stop everyday people from shaping their hair. That's not how this works. This is why it's important to listen to people who actually know what they're talking about, instead of getting swept up in narratives designed to trigger emotion. The only limitations are posting so incessantly that you're causing brand confusion. Everyone is free to shape their hair into stars, hearts, sushi rolls, it doesn't matter. Please do. I've been dropping tutorials on how to sculpt your hair for years.
So yeah, she doesn't have a problem with anyone trying to create these hairstyles. Her issue is when someone does it so much that it stops being associated with her. On top of that, she also takes issue with some other aspects of Solar's work. For example, she claimed that the extensions Solar made don't reflect her own hair texture, but instead resemble hers, which according to Ava means that Solar is copying her style.
And then immediately after that, she drops these StarPuff hair extensions that don't mimic her natural hair, but mimic the same density and the same volume as my puffs. And throughout all this, there is no proof of all this bullying and harassment that I apparently do to everybody that enters the space.
And yes, perhaps the most outrageous thing about the whole drama is that Quinn Ava had a problem with the fact that Solar wasn't prohibiting non-black people from buying her Afro puffs.
I'm not comfortable with my art or anything derived from my work being marketed to a non-black audience, especially when it risks being treated as a novelty or used in a way that feels dismissive or mocking the culture that it came from. I've seen comments where non-black people are joking about purchasing these StarPuffs, and this is the exact dynamic that I don't want associated with my art or my brand. This is not what my work represents, and this is not aligned with my mission or values. I made it clear that she's willing to sell these Afro textured pieces to anyone, and that's her choice. But since the StarPuffs are directly related to me and my brand, I don't support this direction, and I don't want my brand or my work to be associated with practices that don't respect the cultural significance behind it.
Honestly, this is just too much. As Solar mentioned in one of her videos, it is highly unprofessional and unethical for a business to refuse to sell a product to a particular group of people based on their race. It's not just absurd, it's hateful. And let's not forget, it's also against standard business practices and laws in the US.
It is unprofessional to say that you don't sell your products to a person simply because of their race. That is against the law. You are not supposed to do that. I do not need people telling me that I am anti-Black or against my people. It's very obvious that this whole you're anti-Black, you're this, you're that happened because you and another person teamed up to make sure that you tore down my Kickstarter campaign while it was running. And I have timestamps for that. And it's right here.
So basically what Solar is talking about here is a backlash she received just for choosing to sell her products to non-Black people. Because of that, someone has been calling her anti-Black, which honestly makes absolutely no sense. As she says, it's unethical, unprofessional, and actually racist. You simply cannot control where these products end up. They're literally hair extensions, a product anyone can use, and it's not a brand's authority to tell someone whether they can or cannot use them. So yeah, all in all, Quinn Ava is trying to claim ownership over hairstyles, even though she says she doesn't. But in reality, she's doing exactly the same thing. And this isn't the first or only time she's tried to gatekeep the niche and prevent others from creating hairstyles she has done before. For example, there's a comment she left under a video by another creator in the same niche, who posted a video of shaping their hair into a house. Quinn Ava responded with a picture of herself doing the same hairstyle, essentially asserting that it was her idea first. She wrote in the comments, "This is the house that I sculpted back in 2022. It even has a little chimney." While this may not seem like a big deal without context, when you really look at Quinn Ava's stance during this whole situation, it becomes clearer. She doesn't want anyone stepping into the space she occupies and seems to feel the need to remind people constantly that she did it first. Essentially, she isn't happy when others discover this niche. She feels threatened by anyone who can do what she does. And honestly, that's the only explanation we can think of. It's actually extremely sad to see, especially considering that Quinn Ava consistently posts about hair sculpting contests on her social media and encourages people to dabble in the art.
Hey everyone, just a quick reminder that I'm running a natural hair sculpting contest with a $500 prize.
But the moment someone actually participates and gains more traction than her, she suddenly gets upset about the whole thing. That being said, we're very interested to see how this whole chaos is going to play out from here. After all, Quinn Ava is still very young. She started when she was just 19 and is only 23 years old now. This is part of the reason why a lot of people have been saying that her mother Nikki is heavily involved behind the scenes. We couldn't find much about her mother, except that she's a businesswoman and also acts as Quinn Ava's manager. Another thing we came across while going through Solar's TikTok page was a video where Solar and her partner Ether directly addressed Ava's mother, making it look like she's the one pushing and egging Ava on.
Miss Nikki Neal, please stop hiding behind your daughter. Although we may not agree with your daughter's actions towards us or her beliefs surrounding natural hair sculpting, we do not believe that things getting this far are completely of her own doing. Placing her at the forefront of a federal lawsuit that the public overwhelmingly sees as harmful, restrictive, and anti-freedom of expression pretty much jeopardizes not only her reputation, but her mental well-being.
We also found this post made by Quinn Ava's mother, and it reads, "Copyright and trademark do not stop everyday people from shaping their hair. It only stops businesses from monetizing the brand. Black women's sensitivity around their hair being exploited to manufacture outrage? We mean, this makes no sense." However, let's talk about what's happening right now. Is Solar still selling her sculpted hair afros? And what's the status of the lawsuit? There isn't a lot of information publicly available about the lawsuit at the moment. The most recent post from Quinn Ava on YouTube shares a Twitter thread open letter from her attorney, but it doesn't provide any major updates on a resolution. It reads, addressing Solar, her associated pages, and Ether, "I represent Quinn Ava in a federal lawsuit pending in the Central District of California against you. Despite multiple good faith efforts, including attempted personal service, email, and direct messages, service has not yet been accomplished. We've also confirmed that your prior counsel is not representing you in this matter. To date, you have not appeared in this matter to mount a defense of any kind. I'm requesting that you simply respond to my email or one of my correspondence of various forms, so that I can provide you with the lawsuit materials and a Rule 4D waiver of service, which extends your time to respond and avoids unnecessary costs. If you are not represented by any attorney for this matter, I invite you to contact me directly so we may discuss whether an efficient and reasonable resolution is possible. My client remains open to a reasonable and amicable resolution situation, but silence and evasion only increase expense and exposure. So basically, it looks like her attorney is trying to reach Solar, but they aren't responding, which makes it feel like something is definitely brewing behind the scenes. Ava also posted a video on her YouTube channel a few days ago titled Natural Hair Sculptures X Beyonce Alien Superstar. In the video, her silhouette can be seen with different shapes of afros on her head, showcasing her hair sculptures in full effect. As for whether Solar's Star Puffs are still up for sale, we don't know for sure, but Ether and Solar made a video just 2 weeks ago in which they explained that they couldn't show the Star Puff on their social media at the moment. They even had a censored sticker over it. Even so, they still talked about how they plan to sell the product and how people can get their Star Puffs and Afro Puffs.
And that explains as to why right now I'm wearing a censor sticker on my star. It may appear funny to some people, but it's actually because, our YouTube channel is actually at 2 copyright strikes right now. And if you don't know, we only have 3. So if we get the 3rd, then we wouldn't be able to have our YouTube platform all over trying to be claimed as a brand identity by another individual. So
honestly, we don't think anything shocking is going to come out of this lawsuit. It feels unnecessary and was most likely filed so that Ava could use it to keep taking down videos from Solar's account. For those who don't know, when a YouTube account is struck, creators have the right to appeal and try to get the strike removed. However, if the person filing the strike also has a federal lawsuit against the creator, the situation becomes much more complicated, and the video can be taken down automatically by YouTube. We believe this was likely the reason Ava filed the lawsuit in the first place. Solar seems to think along the same lines, as she mentioned this in one of her videos discussing the whole situation.
There's a loophole within the YouTube copyright takedown system with a lot of other social media platforms as well. You can file a counterclaim against these copyright filings unless the entity files a lawsuit against you. By filing a lawsuit, it would allow them to constantly be able to take down any video you try to put up about your business or whatever they're trying to suppress.
In the end, all we can really say about this situation is that it's sad and extremely negative. Creators working in the same niche, especially one that's so small and underrepresented, should be supporting each other instead of tearing each other down. On that note, we'll wrap up today's video, but we want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Solar actually infringed on Ava's intellectual property? Do you think it's okay to sell a product centered around Black culture to non-Black people? And do you think this whole situation was even necessary? Let us know in the comments. In the meantime, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it.